In this game I was the first player to capture a continent, but instead of boringly turtling or doing nothing, I decided to fight all three of my opponents at once. Not only every turn capturing as many territories as I could afford to, but invading them into their continents as well. Welcome to the Risk Forever channel, guys. This is another 4-player fixed card game which is being played with my subscribers. The red player is an intermediate and the blue and white players are masters. Settings: Alliance is on, balance splits dice rolls in 60 seconds per turn. As you know, no Australia, no win, guys. Either get it at any cost or lose the game. So by having the majority of the troops here and with the other players having barely of them at all, I decided to immediately capture it. I'm the first player who got a continent, so I'm supposed to have a good advantage over my opponents. At least when it comes to the very beginning of the game. Later on my opponents will capture some continents as well, so my advantage will be gone. But before that I could decide what to do. I could specifically start targeting one player and make him get eliminated from the game first, or I could even start targeting all three of them at once, capturing as many territories as I could afford to, and then prevent them from capturing continents if possible. So I thought it would be fun to give it a try doing so, and this is what I decided what I'm going to do. Up until the moment when I see that I cannot really afford doing so anymore. Or maybe, who knows, maybe I will be able to destroy all three of them. I mean, it's sometimes possible to get a huge advantage over two of your opponents by trying to capture as much stuff as possible in a 3-player game, so I could only imagine how awesome it would be if I actually managed to pull this strategy out in a 4-player game. That would be spectacular. And as you can see, nobody has sent an alliance request for me anyways. So what I will try to do is try and dominate the game by becoming the biggest enemy of all three of them at once. I have a 10 troop set at 3 cards, but since I think I can do everything I want without additional troops, I think I will keep it for now. I cannot take any of them out anyways, and maybe if I'm just going to have a lot of territories made of ones but not so many troops, then maybe they won't notice that much that I'm taking over the advantage. That's so fortunate that the blue player didn't even guard his continent, so being at round 4 I'm still preventing all of them from holding continents. But it's just so unfortunate that the red player got to trade in a 10 troop set at 3 cards and started targeting my Australian army, meaning that some other player, if he has a set as well, could potentially take it from me. But yeah, that's a good decision for the red player to try preventing me from dominating the game, and if others follow that as well, then I could even end up getting eliminated first by having 3 enemies at once. I knew that by doing this strategy it could have been very bad for me when it comes to the diplomacy, but whichever outcome everything will end up being, I will be happy because at least I had some fun, actually a lot of fun targeting all 3 of my opponents at once. So even if I get eliminated first, I think it was still worth to give this fun strategy a try. But I'm not giving up yet. Since I still see that I have some chances to succeed, I continue targeting them once again. The red and white players are both in Africa, so I know that nobody of them will be able to capture it, or if the white player crushes red's troops, then it will be even better for me. And actually what's the most unfortunate for me is that this game is with cards. If there were no cards in this current game at all, then I would have much more advantage, but since the white and blue players will trade in their sets in, I won't be able to afford fighting all 3 of them at once at all. It would just put me into a lot of disadvantage and I would just simply end up destroying myself just to get eliminated first. So by being aware of that, I knew that it was the time to start making some alliances. The red player was the one who was targeting me the most, so this is why I sent the alliance requests for the blue and white players firstly, so they would help me out destroying red. But the blue player, even though accepting my alliance request, started targeting me like crazy. So by him becoming even more aggressive than red and being such a bad ally of mine, I decided that I will rather try making the alliance with red to try getting rid of him instead, assuming that the red and white players won't be as that much bad allies as him. Because obviously I want to stay in the game with the players who would be willing to team up with me, but not that much targeting me. And actually I'm really scared of the white player right now, it seems to be dangerous. But phew, he stopped and fortified his biggest army in Africa back. So actually it's so good that he decided to accept my alliance request. As if I were him, then I would have probably wiped out the green player from Australia, taking it for myself, and in case getting a good blitz roll, crushing his 13 troops army, maybe even completely taking him out, but if not, leaving him for another player. It would have been one of the possibilities. Another possibility is that I would have attacked and crushed some of the troops of the red player. Actually, I think it would have been the safest choice, wanting to try eliminating someone. Then another possibility for him was to fortify his army next to blue and start manual rolling him, but that would have probably been the least efficient of all of those three possibilities to attack someone. So anyways, my main point is, if I were white being the strongest, then I would have tried to get rid of someone, so we could move to the next stage, the stage of the 3 players. But actually, after all, it's probably good that the white player decided to be passive back then, as I think he would have mostly ended up going after me. So I think that's even fortunate that he plays very passively. Anyways, after all, I'm not sure how much I can trust the red player, but he isn't guarding Ukraine, so maybe he won't be looking to target me. But either way, I decided that it would be good to try eliminating blue, with him already being the weakest, so I decided to invade him into South America and start manual rolling him, so the red player would do the same or even completely take him out. And I mean, the decision is up to red after all, as if instead of trying to get rid of others he decides to just simply turtling, then with him getting the most troops will make the most sense to start targeting him. But alright, the red player went with the right decision, so now we can move on to the 3-player stage. And so far I'm not sure what I'm going to do yet, but I will wait for the red and white turns to be end and will try to adapt my strategy to that. So I'm really looking forward to see what the white player does. That's a good thing for me that he invaded red into Europe, but the bad thing is that by doing so he captured a lot of territories of mine instead of just simply invading red from Africa. So it seems that the white player is trying to target both of us at once, and due to that I think it would make more sense for me to try teaming up with red rather white. And not only because of that, but that the red player helped me out to get rid of the blue player while I haven't really done anything together with the white player yet. But anyways, all what I decided to do is to capture a lot of white territories while still letting him hold Africa. The white player in his turn mostly focused taking the territories of mine also, and it's bad in a sense that if I and white are mostly going to target the territories of each other, then it is going to give a big advantage for the red player. So I'm wondering how both of my opponent's strategies are going to change if I only capture one territory. And it seems the red player continues attacking the territories of the white player by himself alone, and actually if the white player is going to, and continue recapturing them, then the player who will be favored by that will be me. So I would just switch the positions with the red player. But I was the weakest player anyways. It wouldn't have made much sense to neither attacking white nor red territories for me anyways, so to not get into more of disadvantage. But now since I traded in a set and since the white player didn't invade red into Europe, I'm wondering what happens if I capture Asia. What I want is that I and red by holding big continents would be able to drastically team up on the white player by starting to crush a lot of troops into him. And while I expected for the red player switching to North America because Europe would have been obviously invaded, I thought that the red player would let me hold Asia instead of betraying me. So I guess I will mostly be on my own now without really expecting for others to team up with me. And actually it was a very smart decision made of the red player to give it a try of holding both of the Americas, because he knew that I and the white player were more focused on attacking each other while white didn't even invade him into Europe last turn, and by me threatening the white player a lot by fortifying my biggest army next to him, the red player could have predicted that the white player would have very unlikely decided to invade him. And if the white player hadn't invaded him, then I would have forced to invade red him by myself, and with me crushing red's Icelandic army, it would have made me be very weak. Or if at the end nobody of us would have invaded him, then the red player would have taken over a good advantage. But the white player is a smart player, and even though by being threatened by my biggest army on the Middle East, he still invaded red into both of the Americas, so the balance of the game would be saved. he invaded me into Australia as well, but actually I don't really mind that much at all. Anyways, since the red player moved in Australia, I think I could potentially team up with the white player by him capturing both of the Americas, and me Africa plus Europe. But before that we need that the red player would block his army in Australia, as otherwise I will be too weak to defend both of the borders against him. And voila, the red player has actually blocked his army for real, so now I just need to see if the white player would be willing to use this strategy with me. I don't know yet, but I sent him the thumbs up emoji when he started capturing red's territories in North America, indicating that it's fine for me that he captures North America as long as I will be able to additionally hold Europe too. So I'm going to clearly show it by strongly guarding against red while barely against him. Actually I won't leave any of the troops next to his border, as there is a possibility that the red player has a set at 3 cards, so he wouldn't break through Europe. And yes, he does, guys. The red player actually had a 10 troop set at 3 cards. So I think it's a good thing that after all I fortify these 5 troops from Iceland to strengthen Ukraine. But yeah, as you can see, the red player brought a lot of troops to North America, so now the white player cannot capture it, and at the same time we cannot make the red player in Australia completely trapped, so we would be able to properly team up on him with both of us getting a lot of troops. So anyways, since the white player didn't invade me into my continents, now I have to help him out as well. So what I want to do is to help him to get rid of the red player's North American army, so then after him capturing both of the Americas, both of us would be able to properly team up on him in case he still leaves the majority of the troops in Australia, but not deciding to fortify the whole army somewhere here. As otherwise if I hadn't helped white out, then he would have been forced to betray by invading me into my continents. But anyways, I think I should have crushed all of my troops into red's North American army instead of manual rolling it and not using all of my troops, as the red player ended up having enough troops to invade me through Iceland. But on the other hand, maybe that's good that the red player was able to invade me, as if he hadn't, then I guess he would have fortified some troops there from Australia once again, or even the whole army. But since he invaded me, as you can see, he left all of his troops in Australia. So yeah, now with the red player's biggest army being blocked and with me and the white player recapturing our big continents, we will potentially be able to properly team up and start crushing our troops into the red player in the way that it would be mutually beneficial for both of us, but of course waiting for the opportunities to betray each other at the right moment as well. As we are playing to win, but not just to be guaranteed being in the top 2. Whether it's 4th, 3rd or 2nd, it's still a losing place. But yeah, for now with my armies being not as strong and with the red player having a possibility to trade in a set, I think it would be worth to wait a few more turns before starting to crush the troops into him just to be safe. And obviously the white player needs to strengthen his Asian border by a lot as well, as otherwise the red player would just be simply able to invade him if his army gets unleashed, and red would not only invade white, but me as well. So all of our efforts to set up this strategy would gone in vain. So yeah, I'm not sure what's the white player's plan to leave his army randomly blocked in Asia, but I mean I would prefer to get a bit stronger too before starting to crush the troops into red. Yeah, I have no idea what's the motive of building that army in Asia, but maybe I think I should start crushing the troops into the red player anyways, or maybe not. The red player is at 5 cards. So actually let's wait for one more turn. But yeah, the red player just invaded the white player into North America, as we could have predicted, with the white player basically not guarding his border at all. So the red player gets away this time from the deadliest trap strategy against the Australian player when both of the Americas player teams up with the African/European player, making the Australian player completely trapped in Australia by properly guarding the borders against him and then trying to start to crush the troops into him. So now I think I will try to be playing on my own, since I believe the white player doesn't really much know the strategy I was trying to pull off. And I'm the strongest player anyways, which could potentially end up having more troops than both of my opponents combined, so I will see if I'm able to win this game so easily. But yeah guys, for some reasons I forgot that the red player's army was unleashed from Asia, so I've got to be invaded to Ukraine very easily. and maybe I shouldn't have strengthened my North African border against the white player that much, as maybe after all the white player would have still stayed as an ally with me. As after all, when the red player invaded him into North America, he still let me hold my continents while still being focused on attacking red, taking Australia from him. So yeah, since I'm still the strongest player but the one who cannot hold big continents, to not prolong the game I had to invade the white player into both of the Americas so I would get rid of some surplus troops, and not only because of that but because by having the advantage I will still be able to keep being as the strongest player but not letting the white player to catch up with him trying to hold a lot of stuff. I doubt that the red player by being the weakest would have invaded him, so sooner or later I would have had to invade him anyways, and if so, then it was better to do that immediately rather than wait for some more additional turns ending up in a not that much advantageous situation as I could have been into. Actually I need to guard Africa against the red player. Or maybe not, let's see if he is willing to team up with me once again. After all we would be getting the same number of troops, and obviously I would need to crush some more troops into the white player firstly before getting to the red player troops level. But yeah, it seems the red player doesn't want to team up with me invading me into Africa, so I guess I will have to invade him into Europe, as it doesn't really make sense to let him hold it while he doesn't even guard it. Well, it seems the red player to be attacking the white player right now, so maybe he would be willing to team up after all. Maybe he just doesn't know the strategy in which South American/African player put his troops to Central America and Middle East territories, while the European player to Iceland and Ukraine territories to guard against the Australian player. So it's kinda the same like both of the Americas player teams up with the African/European player, just with both of the players getting fewer troops. So anyways I sent the attack request for the red player to attack white along with thumbs up and thumbs down, and by all of that indicating that I want to ask red whether he wants to attack white with me or not. But maybe that's not obvious to understand, or maybe the red player didn't know what I potentially have in mind, so he didn't respond to that. But anyways, I still captured North America, leaving my army on Alaska and then fortifying my African army one territory back to Brazil, so the red player would be able to capture Africa. And as you can see the red player has followed with my plan, but he just didn't split armies in two different armies on Middle East and Ukraine due to the possibility of the white player to crush one of his armies and give the advantage to me. But now when there are no armies of the white player near, I think we should be able to pull off the strategy successfully. With the red player capturing Africa, my Brazilian army was unleashed, so I was able to recapture North America easily by going through red's Europe. And it seems the red player won't have any issues recapturing Europe either. So I'm just wondering whether he is going split his biggest army and properly guard both of the borders against the white player now. And yeah, this is what has happened. So now since I'm quite stronger than red, I have to start crushing some troops into the white player, so I would get rid some of the troops getting to the red player's troops level, so he would be able to do the same as well. As you can see with the red player getting his troops, I'm still as strong as him, so for the red player to not give me a visible troops advantage, he can crush just a few troops or do just a couple of manual rolls letting me crush some more troops into the white player. But the red player invaded me into North America, and it works for me as well, as he did a lot manual rolls instead of just a couple of them. So to not accidentally give me too much advantage, that was a good move made by red as well. Anyways, what I think I will try to do is to keep attacking white but still trying not to end up below red with troops level much, so I would be able to potentially outsmart him by betraying him and invading him into the continents at the right time with him not being able to invade me back. But firstly I need that the white player would become so much weaker than that, otherwise I could just get a short temporary advantage and that's it. So yeah, firstly I need to manual the white player some more. And if he eventually gets like to the 20 troops or so with a bunch of cards, then I might be even able to take him out before even betraying red. So just the question is how much smart the red player about the balance of the game is, and if he takes into the account all of the other important factors about the situation on the board as well, whether I would be able to manipulate him well for him to give away me a victory or not. And it looks like he is being aware about not giving me the advantage very well. But anyways, Since I noticed that it could be very hard to outsmart the red player, I'm wondering if it was a good idea to try taking the advantage of the situation right away. It's unlikely for him to have a set, right? And then with the white player blocking his army once again, I should be able to keep fortifying my troops against the red player well. But I already see that my plan isn't going to work out, as with the red player moving out his troops from Middle East, the white player will be able to invade me. So after all, it was a bad decision to betray the red player made by me. With the white player's biggest army being unleashed from the left side and with the red player obviously moving his army out from Middle East, it should have been very obvious to me that I was going to get invaded very easily. So I'm not sure why I thought it would be a good idea to try betraying the red player like that. If the white player's turn was before the red's one, then with the red player not moving his army from the white player's way out, my plan might have worked out. But since it was red's turn after mine, the red player was obviously able to move his army out from the Middle East and unleash the white player the way to invade me. All in all, I think I was trying to play too greedy and more looking towards benefiting myself rather than trying to make our alliance as much mutually beneficial as possible. I should have had definitely manual rolled or crushed troops into the white player more, so the red player wouldn't have to invade me into North America feeling that I'm taking the advantage over him. So I think I should have really tried making the alliance much more beneficial for both of us by seeing that the red player is being aware about the balance of the game well. So hopefully the red player considers giving me another try. But he invaded me, and that's also fine, as every player makes the decisions which he thinks benefit him the most. So if he doesn't want to let me hold unguarded Asia, then I won't let him hold unguarded Africa and Europe too. Actually, I might try making a strong alliance with the white player if he wants to. So what you saw I did, is sent the attack request for the white player to attack red, and then crushing the 20 troops of the red player, I invaded red into both of his continents. So if the white player shows some signs that he is willing to team up with me on red, then I'm going to continue targeting red. We could potentially use the strategy when we as the Australian and South American players prevent the third player from holding any continents at all. Well, the white player neither give a thumbs up nor did some attacks towards the red player. So by not knowing what the white player is looking forward to do, but with me still hoping that he decides to team up with me, all I did is just captured Africa, waiting to see what happens the next turn. But yeah, I don't know what the white player's current plans are, but it doesn't look like he would want to team up with me on red. Maybe he would just want to be neutral, I don't know. But since I didn't want that we would be just hoarding troops getting into more and more stalemated situation, I decided that it would be better if I attack someone, so since the white player had the most of stuff, I decided that I will try attacking him. And also I guess it would be much easier for me to team up with red than white anyways. I'm not really sure if the white player is aware much about the teaming up strategies. He of course helps out the weaker player to attack the stronger player when he sees that it's needed for the balance of the game to be sustained, but I haven't really noticed that he would either try to team up with me on red, or with red on me, when the balance of the game isn't in a dangerous situation. But maybe he just didn't see a great opportunity, I don't know. But alright, it seems we will finally prevent the white player from holding North America. Well, alright. He's just crushed both of his armies into us. I mean, this game was going for a while now, so I think he had to go, or maybe just became bored with the game in overall. But either way, it's a good thing that he decided to try making this game more or less equal. So yeah, I think it's the endgame time. My biggest army is in Australia blocked, so obviously I have to fortify it from it. Otherwise the red player could potentially use the 4 continents endgame strategy against me and win the game easily. I don't think it's worth for him to take the white player out over attacking me, but him having to go through a lot of white's territories, I guess he has no other choice. I didn't unleash his biggest army from Asia for a reason. Well, the red player has just made an oopsie. What an unfortunate misclick or accidental inaccuracy. Well, it can happen for all of us. But yeah, I think it completely ruined his chances to win. So it's a GG. What an unexpected end. If you guys enjoyed watching this video, then I would recommend checking some of these out as well.